"Hello, honey," Tanya said, entering the living room. I had returned home a few minutes earlier and sat sipping a cool beer and trying not to let the news bore me. "Hello, beauty," I smiled back. "I have some news this evening." She blushed as she put her purse down and began sorting the mail on the table. "The ladies at work decided to go dancing this Friday, and I was invited to join. Dancing wasn't my favorite pastime, but Tanya seemed excited, and I was always looking for something we could do together, so I decided to join right away. We have been married for 22 years. Our children are already adults. We have a lot of money, good jobs, and good friends. It's fair to say that since the kids left, we've become a little less passionate about each other as a couple. Where we always had family reunions when the kids were growing up, or even neighborhood backyard parties, those events are long gone, and now we've somehow settled into the boring but safe routine of work and home life. So when Tanya mentioned a date night, I immediately decided to make an effort to give her the good time we hadn't had in a while. "That's good news," I said, fully confident that after the party I would spend a hot night with my wife. "How many of you are there, and where are we going?" Her face fell, and she looked at me as if she could not marry a stupider man. "Not us, stupid. Husbands are not invited." She said this in a tone that seemed a little harsh to me, wagging her finger at me. "This is a night just for us girls to dance and let our hair down. You'll be fine. I bet you won't even miss me." She looked away and added, "You already pay so little attention to me." Then she looked up and gave me her best, charming smile. "Maybe you and the guys can play poker or something so you won't be lonely." She smiled and took a bottle of Chardonnay from the refrigerator. I grabbed the glass, took the bottle from Tony, and poured her a drink. I think she noticed how my face darkened and expressed some fear. "What's happened?" "I thought you'd be glad I was spending time with the girls. Now that you mention it, I actually have something to say." "Come on, let's sit on the deck. Could you give me a few minutes?" I asked. "Okay, but I hope you're not going to tell me I can't go. I'm already an adult, so you tell me what I can and can't do, you know." I raised my hands in supplication. I sensed her bitch friend Ginny was behind this, but decided to leave it alone for now. No, if I wanted her to listen to me, then I had to be calm and convincing enough to compete with Ginny's manic emotions. A little more about her later, but suffice it to say that Ginny loves to have fun and doesn't care too much about who gets in her way. "No, I wouldn't tell you to stay home. I've never been that kind of guy, so I'm not going to start now. However, I have a few issues that I would like to raise, and I ask you to listen to me. I'll do the same for you later." I looked at her before continuing. "I'm always here to listen to you, Tom," she replied, and I caught a hint of sarcasm. "Thank you, Tanya," I replied. I looked at Tanya for a long time and took a breath before starting. I tried to keep my voice even and tried to keep my emotions under control. I'm an engineer at a large aerospace company and often have to get the attention of clients, so I knew how to reach an audience even if they weren't receptive. Right now, the look on Tony's face would rival any skeptical client I've ever negotiated with. I may have been angry, but I had something important to convey to my wife, and I wanted to do it right. "I was very glad to hear your news when you first arrived. You know, dancing isn't high on my list, but I was thrilled to see how happy you were, and I couldn't wait to join in and start planning the date night. But then you told me that I wasn't invited, and that you didn't want me there. I see it as a decision where you choose your friends over me, and it, well, for lack of a better word, hurts. Now, Tom, you're just being stupid. It's just dancing with girls, and it's not a reason to cry out loud, 'I don't choose them over you.' Don't be so touchy." Again, I just sat quietly for a while. "Just listen to me. I'm not touchy. I just have a few comments, listen to them, and then we can have dinner." She fell silent and looked at me with a mixture of irritation and impatience. "Tanya, when you accept an invitation to go dancing with your girlfriends, an invitation that specifically excludes me, then in reality, you are choosing your girlfriends, not me." She started to protest, but I signaled again, and she stopped herself before she started. "Tanya, can you ever remember the time when I came home from work and told you that I was not just going to a guy's party, and that I was going to, as you suggest, play poker, or go with a group of guys to a sports club, bar? In fact, I wonder how the conversation would go if I announced that the boys and I were going to kick ass at a dance club. She held her tongue, and I continued. The answer is that I have never done it, and I have a good reason for it. My reason is that I prefer to spend my time with you. You will always have the lion's share of my time and attention, and my friends can take what's left. We sat in silence for a while before I asked, "How many ladies are going? Are any of them married or have boyfriends who aren't invited either?" "It will be me and 3 other girls. 2 are married, and 1 has a boyfriend. And no, they are not invited either." She said this with a hint of anger that was not justified. I ignored the blow and started again. "So, I think you'll go to one of the trendy dance clubs downtown, or maybe even a club." She smiled and nodded. "Are you going to dress up? Little black dress, pumps, hair, makeup?" "Certainly. You know I always want to look good and make you proud of me. What's bad about it?" Tanya was clearly challenging me. "Nothing at all, Tanya," I answered. "I love it when you dress up for me, and I've always been proud of you. But like you said, I wasn't invited and you don't want me there, so you're not likely to dress up for me, are you? In fact, I have a hard time remembering the last time we dressed up and went out. Maybe it was for a Christmas party?" Anyway, I continued before Tanya tried to answer. "You're really not dressing up for me, because I won't be there to admire you." She tried to start talking, but I continued before she started. "I know that women often compete when they go out and dress up to show off for each other. I understand, but that's not really the reason why you dress up like that." Tanya grimaced her face in irritation, but I calmly continued. "So, you're going to the dance club, and I assume you're going to dance?" I looked at her, and she cocked her head to the side, looking at me like a mother scolding her child. "Well, of course," she answered. "And you girls are going to dance with each other all night?" She furrowed her brows. I think she was a little nervous thinking about her answer. "No, it would be stupid to dress up and go to a fancy club to dance with your girlfriends," Tanya said. I nodded in agreement, my face as straight and guileless as I could make it. I was starting to get nervous, but I controlled myself. "Arguing won't solve anything," I said to myself and continued. As I thought, "So, of course you'll want to dance with the single guys at the club. Basically, you're going to dress up to attract men to ask you to dance. So, since I won't be there because I'm not invited, and you don't want me there, and you're hoping to dance with single men in a club, then we have to conclude that you're dressing up not for me, but in the hope of making herself attractive to strange men." Her expression lost a little of its confrontational look, and I saw some doubt creeping into it. She started to protest, and I raised my hand. "Please let me continue. I'll stay for a while and then sit and listen. I promise. And now I'm supposed to believe that the bachelorette party, as you say, is just innocent fun, the girls from the office letting off steam? Okay, everyone wants to relax from time to time, even me. But let me try to put this into perspective for you. Since this is a trendy dance club, I suspect that most of the single men and women will be in their 20s or 30s. Oh, I'm sure there will be mature divorced women, or even a mixed group of girls like you, but it's safe to say that most of the women will be younger than you." I looked at her and kept her thoughts to myself. "So again, I'm not there because I wasn't invited, and you don't want me with you, and you want to dance, and you want to attract the best dance partner, so you're all dressed up and made up and waiting. Like I said, since it's a club, most single men, as well as single women, will be younger, and men will dance there too. I remember being younger and doing the same thing. Young people go to the club to meet young girls and perhaps get serious. But you know that wouldn't be the case with you. I mean that a young man will immediately see that you are married by your rings, assuming that you did not take them off for fear of losing them." "I would never," she began to say. I extended my hand. "Sorry, honey, I'm almost finished." "Never." "What?" "I would never have suggested that you would do something like that. I would hate to think that you are planning some kind of sophisticated deception. No, I only mention this because I saw Ginny take off her rings at the Woods barbecue last summer. She noticed that I saw it and told me it was because she didn't want to lose them. Good idea on her part since her husband accidentally caught her putting her hands in Jeremy's shorts. So, yeah, if they got caught on something, she might lose them. So now you accuse me of planning to deceive? Tanya spat indignantly. I knew you would just act like a petulant child because of this. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to change my mind. I'm just going to dance with some hot guys, and then I'll come back to you completely delighted. You will feel it. I will compensate you for everything when I return home. All excited with dancing and attention. It was my turn to look at her like she was a stupid child. I let the silence linger for a moment before speaking again. So, I'm sure some young guys will ask you to dance. Look at you. You are beautiful. I always tell you this. So, of course, these young studs will be making their way to you. She smiled, thinking she was making me jealous and could somehow use that to her advantage. Like I said, I did pretty much the same thing when I was younger, but I was looking for someone to be in a long-term relationship, so I stuck to girls around my age. I would think that when a guy wants to ask you to dance, he would know that you are not a candidate for a long-term relationship. I mean, you already have rings on. She nodded vigorously, and I continued, and this is confirmation that you're married. And you're clearly older. Beauty, I quickly added, decades older. But still, here you are free. On your own, you are dressed to the nines. You smile and accept his offer. Damn it, your husband must know and approve. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. So now he thinks that you're fair game, that you're here to play, and that if he's good, maybe he can share the game and the enjoyment of it with you. What do you mean by playing? It's offensive. I looked at her and my shoulders sagged. I raised my head to look at her doubtfully. Okay, this word has some connotations. Connotation, emotion, or idea that a word has, in addition to its literal or primary meaning. A guy looking for sex will see that you're here to have fun, and he's just the guy to help you do that. But you're married, you're wearing rings, and that makes you immune to temptation. Her gaze hardened a little, but not from anger. Something else crept into it. I was hoping that I was being clear, and it would turn out that maybe I was actually doing something right. So you're dancing, and he's charming, handsome, muscular, and fit. He praises your dress, your hair, your dancing. He expresses his admiration for the fact that you are so liberated and responsible that you can do as you please. He might even give me some kind of compliment. You know, something like, "Your husband must be so progressive. I know that if I were him, I wouldn't let you out of my sight." All of this is designed to make you more relaxed, compliant, and receptive. But like I said, you're married and not subject to temptation, right? Such harmless fun. You enjoy slow dancing and flirty conversations on the dance floor. Maybe he takes you to a dark corner of the club, inviting you to cool down and take a breath, conveniently hidden from your nocipherines. Of course, you make it sound like I'm about to have sex. I just want to dance. Tanya stated this with stubborn insistence. I'm not saying that at all. I want to say that there is a gap between us. Maybe not that big, but it's already there. I know you're married and immune to the temptations of the dance club, but all the devil needs is a little hook, and that's enough for him to drive a wedge between us. Tanya, I asked, when was the last time we made love? When was the last time we had a good date? It's not just me, she shot back. Someone could use a little thought about what it takes to impress a lady, and what a problem if I danced with a few nice young gentlemen. I was silent again for a little while longer and then answered my own question. We had sex on Tuesday last week. Today is already Wednesday. When you first started turning me down, constantly telling me you were tired, and I felt bad that maybe I wasn't doing my fair share of housework. So I started helping out more around the house. Now I wash dishes every night and cook several times a week. I thought that if I took some of the burden off of you, you'd be less tired, but it hasn't worked yet. But I continued to move on. Remember how I mentioned that our local theater was going to present its spring premiere show? She nodded. I was hoping you'd be pleased when I mentioned it and would want to go, but remember what you said? She silently lowered her eyes. You said it was too much work, having to dress up, then get to the theater just to sit and watch the play. and that you had already seen the film and didn't see the need for it. All you wanted to do was relax at home and watch Netflix. I changed the subject, but what I didn't tell you is that I had already bought 2 front-row tickets, made a reservation at this new fancy Italian restaurant near the theater, and hired a limousine to take us. I wanted to treat you to a great evening, but I had to cancel all the reservations and give the tickets to Bob and Ellen. By the way, he told me that they liked the show and she was both grateful to me for this wonderful gift. Her eyes became misty. I'm doing everything I can to bridge the gap, to remove roughness and make us love our time together again. I may not be successful, but I won't give up. I began to feel out of breath and was afraid that my voice would give me away. So I sat quietly for a while. When I thought I could trust myself, I moved on. So now you walk around, dance, chat, and have a great time. You've been drinking. This was to be expected, and you may have drunk a little more than usual. Again, not unexpected, given the circumstances. Of course, you're too smart to accept a drink from a stranger. You know how easy it would be for someone to put something in your drink. Her hand flew to her mouth. I'm not saying this to scare you, but I want you to know, since I wouldn't have been there, because I wasn't invited and you didn't want me there, and since I wasn't there to protect you, it makes me worry. Please do not accept any drinks offered. It's just a bad idea. I turned around to keep momentum. I could still lose it. So now you're dancing with a hot guy? Your words are not mine. Maybe he'll pull you closer to him and you'll let his hand wander, squeeze lightly, touch your butt softly. Maybe he'll touch your breasts. Maybe after all the dancing, compliments, and random contacts, you will really perk up. Of course, you're married and immune to temptation, so you leave your young dance partner, but he invites you to take his number. You know he had so much fun dancing with you, and at the next bachelorette party, he'd like to do it again. Now she was looking at me intently. I think she was seething, and I started to worry about my promise to listen to her, but I was in it up to my neck, and all I could do was keep rowing. So, it's already 12:30, maybe 1 a.m., and you and the girls are ready to go home. Like you said, you're all pumped up and heading home, ready to make it up to me. But it's late, and I'm worried. But more than that, I'm sad because you choose friends and strangers over me. So I couldn't sleep and sat there, half watching TV, half watching the clock, with a jumble of thoughts in my head, none of them very pleasant, I might add. She didn't say anything, but I spoke without emotion and didn't even look at her, just expressing the thoughts that were on my mind. And then you walk in, smelling of alcohol and cigarette smoke. You're horny, tipsy, maybe a little more than tipsy, and you burst into the room and expect me to transform from an anxious wreck into a receptive lover just because you let some strange man rub against you and turn you on. I'll tell you now that I don't like this scenario, and if it happens, I think it will most likely lead to angry words and cold coexistence for a while before leading to any lovemaking. I mean, what would be my motivation to make love to you? I asked. No, I think I would be glad, of course, that you were at home. But at the same time, I am sure that pain would be a real obstacle to making love. But it's all negative, and no one likes to dwell on the negative all the time, I said, looking straight at her. Let me paint a slightly different picture in which you still dress up and let yourself show off in front of your girlfriends and even all the hot young men in the club. But the most important thing in this version is the fun of the night ends closer to your vision. I continued to paint this picture for her. Friday night comes, you dress your best, so sexy that all the other women will simply die of shame when they see you. I'll take you to our limousine, and our driver will take us to the club where we'll meet your girlfriends and their husbands or boyfriends. We dance. I compliment you on your dress, the way your hair suits you. I touch your back and let my hand move down to your tight little ass to give it a gentle squeeze. As the night goes on, we find our touches becoming more frequent and naughty. We laugh, dance, and talk with friends, and then go home drunk and make love like when we first got married. Of course, some might say that I'm a bossy old man who's too insecure to let his beautiful wife go out alone. But that's not true. Not at all. I'm just a guy who loves his wife and can't think of anyone better to spend time with. I'm just a guy who would give up 20 nights out with friends for one date with his wife. I'm just a guy who wants to be there for his woman, show her love, respect, admiration, protect her from harm, and keep her safe. She was silent. Her mouth opened slightly and a tear appeared in the corner of her left eye. But most of all, I'm just a guy who hopes his wife loves him half as much as he loves her. I'm just a guy who desperately hopes his wife will choose him. I had to stop again because my voice was breaking and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes despite my best efforts to push them away. I exhaled loudly. Thank you for listening to me. It's your turn. And I sat quietly and waited to see how she would react to my childish whining. She picked up her phone, pressed a button, and brought it to her ear. I had no idea what she was doing. Was I so inexpressive in my speech that it made no impression? I felt like a failure when she spoke into the phone. "Ginny?" she said into the phone. My heart sank. If she called Ginny for advice, things would likely be unpleasant. "It's me, Tanya. No, everything is fine." Yes, I told Tom exactly what was on my mind. Yes, Tom treats Friday well. I felt anger rise within me and my stomach clenched. She openly rejected me and my proposal. I felt like my marriage and my life were heading down a slippery slope towards failure. I wanted to call to tell you that I will bring Tom to the dance with me on Friday. Why? Because he's my husband, and I love him, and I want to spend as much time with him as possible. Damn it! I see you at work every day. My heart almost burst with pride when I listened to her half of the conversation. Now, why the hell should I want to dance with some strange young guy when I have a better man? Yes, to all my dances. I'll tell you what, Ginny. It wouldn't be so bad if you invited Mike too and stopped paying attention to all these flatterers you're fawning over. When was the last time you two went on a date? Yes, that's what I thought. You better fix it. All the devil needs to ruin your marriage is a guy holding your ass. What should you tell the girls? Well, I'm going to call Linda myself and tell her that our boring bachelorette party just happened to turn into a date night and that we were rushing to get a limousine. I'm going to tell her to dress to impress. I'm going to tell her that we're going to walk into this club with 4 of the hottest guys in town accompanying us, and that we're going to make all the single girls green with envy. I'm going to tell her that I'm going to show my man how much I love him and how special he is to me, and then I'm going to tell her that we're going to make love all night when we get home. Now go ask Mike out, and when you're done, call Sandy. Okay. Yes, I'm glad we decided to include the boys too. Yes, I know that they are like little children and would be lost without us. See you tomorrow at work. No, I won't tell you what I'll be wearing, but I'll tell you this. You better do your best if you don't want to be embarrassed. I intend to make Tom forget all the other women in the world on Friday. See you at work. Bye. Tanya disconnected and headed towards the stairs. She stopped about halfway. Thank you for being so polite and listening to me. You did better than me. Never interrupted. I sat and looked at my beautiful wife. No matter how hard I tried, I could not stop myself from crying, and 2 long, wet trails ran down my cheeks. When I looked at her face smiling back at me, I swear she was 25 again. I thought I was going to burst with happiness. She started towards our room again, but after 2 more steps, she stopped and turned to me. When did you learn to read my thoughts? She asked. I was silent for a long time. I knew you would ask about this. That's all I answered. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.